Hello, Stephan here with a video about this name and that name and this name and that name and this name and that name. How do you pronounce them in German?
Liquidity.
All of these names that you see here are pronounced exactly the same way in German. Meyer. These names also exist in English, and they exist in Dutch and in Flemish, and they all basically have the same origin, the same meaning. In German, they're all pronounced the same way, Meyer. It doesn't matter whether it's this one or this one or that one or this one, they're all pronounced the same way. They're spelled differently simply because there was a lack of spelling conventions when they were popularized, when people started to actually use last names. This combination of these two letters and these two letters and these two letters and these two letters in German are all pronounced the same way. The one that has the Y in it, in German we call that an Ypsilon, are just archaic. They're not really used for modern German words. They're just used in last names. That's where you can find them. And sometimes you can find them also in some city names, like for instance, Speyer, which is a city on the Rhine River with a fantastic ancient cathedral. In both English and German, most family names, most surnames, most last names denote a profession. So whatever your last name is, betrays at least one of your ancestors' original profession or what we think that they may have done at one point of time. And some of these are rather archaic, some of these are a little bit hard to guess, or you just have to know what they are. English and German have a lot of last names that are very similar. For instance, we have Smith in English and Schmidt in German. Both have to do with obviously blacksmithing, metalworking, right? Obviously, there are different kinds of smiths, different kinds of metals that people might be working. The English name Cooper has the German equivalents of Küfer, which is very similar, right? But we also have Scheffler and Böttcher. And all these people have in common that they were making wooden barrels. Very important before we had modern manufacturing. Then we have last names like this, Fischer or Fischer. And those mean, well, you get the idea. Even though the last name Meyer in German is probably the most common last name, surname, family name, especially if you include all of the compound last names that include the word Meyer, for instance, Bergmeier, you might hear that, or Mittermeier. If you include all the Meyers in that, it's probably the most common German last name, family name. But it is not a Germanic name. It's actually based on a Roman title, Major Domus. That's true for English and Dutch and Flemish varieties of the name too. They all go back to a Latin title, Major Domus. So what is a Major Domus, or what did a Major Domus do back in the ancient days when we still called people that? It really means the manager of a house, or the principal of a house, somebody who is a house manager. And by house, I mean a household that usually is somewhat extensive. It could be actually an entire estate. So it could be more than one building. It could be an entire large agricultural estate, for instance. So Meier really means manager. Even today, you may hear some people use the word mayordomos. For instance, the TV show Magnum, both the old one and the new one, had a mayordomos in it in the form of Higgins. We have the old TV series with this Higgins, and then we have the new one with the somewhat better looking Higgins here, both British people. So in some posh circles, people might still use that as an estate manager title, right? Mayordomos sounds kind of nice. And in historical context, you may have heard of the Carolingian dynasty of Frankish kings. They were not kings at first, but they were actually the mayordomos, the court managers of the Merovingian kings, the first Frankish royal dynasty, and they became so powerful that eventually they took over. Eventually they became the kings. So Charlemagne, maybe the most famous Frankish king, and the man who was the first non-Roman king who was declared Roman emperor by the Pope back in the year 800, he was technically a Meyer. Yeah, if your last name is Meyer or Meyer with something else in there, chances are you had an ancestor who was in charge of their own operation. They may have been just a poor tenant farmer, but at least they were not in the employ of somebody else. They may have been also an estate manager. So somewhere between those two extremes, a poor tenant farmer and somebody who is the manager of a large estate, any of those could be Meyer. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Check out my other videos. See if there's something that you like. If you do, please subscribe to my channel. Mach's gut. Take care. Tschüss. Bye.